Welcome to our funding clinic on the Music Bursary Award 2026, Round 1. My name is Maeve Kelly. I'm an application support manager here in the music and opera team at the Arts Council. So, before we begin, it's just a few notes. This information clinic is being recorded and it will be made available online after the session. You'll find it on the Arts Council's YouTube channel. Please write your questions into the Q&A chat box at the bottom of your screen. I'll be answering questions following the presentation part of this clinic, but feel free to fire away with those questions into the chat box as I'm speaking. My colleague Anya will be monitoring all those questions and she'll be responding to them as well in the chat box throughout the presentation. To turn on live captioning, click Show Captions at the bottom of your screen, select the language, and then click Save. So, to an overview of the Music Bursary Award. Applications are currently open with a deadline on the 12th of February. This is a very competitive award. In round 1 last year, 15% of Music Bursary Award applications were successful. There were 249 applications and 37 of those received funding. The objective of the Music Bursary Award is to support individual professional music artists and arts practitioners at any stage in their career to significantly develop their arts practice and provide artists with the time and resources to think, research, reflect, and engage with their arts practice. The maximum amount that you can apply for is 20,000 and the minimum amount is 5,000. So just to expand a little on what you can apply for with the Bursary Award, as you're attending this clinic, you may already have an idea for your own proposal, and as such, you'll have a good understanding of what kinds of activities are funded through the Bursary Award. But you can see phrases here like developing a new idea, developing your technical skills, learning new skills, mentorships, collaborations, and training. So it's all about that significant development of your practice. You can also request funds for a limited amount of equipment and materials involved in the development of your practice, but this can be no more than 15% of the value of the overall request. You'll find all guidance on this in the Music Bursary Award guidelines. I will be hammering into the guidelines a fair amount throughout this presentation, but just to state here that the guidelines really are the central document for all aspects of the Bursary Award process. Now, what can you not apply for? So you can't apply for recording projects that include the public release of work. And in general, projects with the main objective being the public presentation of work would not fit the purposes of the Bursary Award. So this is for the development of your practice, which could then be expressed as a public presentation after the fact. You can't apply for activities that you have already completed or that you'll have started before we make a decision on your application. And just to note here that the timeline for those decisions is 12 to 15 weeks from the deadline for applications. That's what's written in the guidelines. But just be a little wary in this regard. There are some factors that can affect this timeline, like volumes of applications. So I would advise giving yourself a healthy extra margin there. If you are a performing artist, you can't apply for activities relating to the learning, practice, or rehearsal of performance repertoire as part of your performing career. An example of this could be rehearsing work with a band or an ensemble that you would otherwise be doing regardless of your bursary activity. So the objective of the bursary is to allow you to buy time outside of your professional activity to develop your practice. You can't apply for fees for higher education, such as a FETAC certificate, a degree, or a master's degree. And you can't apply for costs that are not critical to the development of your practice or over 15% of the total requested amount. And again, just see the guidelines for comprehensive information on this. So it's just important to note here that applicants can apply for one bursary award per year. So that is either round one or round two. If you apply for round one, your application will be ineligible if you apply for round two. You can only apply for one bursary in one art form. So for example, you can't apply for a music bursary and a theatre bursary. You cannot apply for both the bursary and the agility award in the same calendar year. And you cannot apply for the bursary if you're a full-time undergraduate student or if you are in full-time employment. So again, you need to be taking time away from employment to work on your practice, and how you plan to approach this should be outlined in your application. The Bursary Award is open to residents of the Republic of Ireland. If you are not a resident, you must explain how your proposal will benefit the arts in the Republic of Ireland in your application form. And we would need to be satisfied with that application as well. So to the guidelines, there have been some changes made to the guidelines under the objectives and priorities of the award. We've included a new strategic priority of support for artists coming from genres that have been highlighted in the music policy's change focus strategies. These are country, popular, electronic, jazz and improvised music, and musical theatre. Applicants working in musical theatre are welcome to apply for a music bursary if the proposal is primarily focused on developing their music skills. If the focus of your application is principally towards other artistic disciplines like theatre, then you may wish to consider applying for the Theatre Bursary Award instead. To the finances and how much funding you should apply for. So the maximum amount of funding you can apply for is 20,000. The minimum is 5,000. You cannot apply for amounts above 20,000 or lower than 5,000. If you do, your application will be ineligible and we won't assess it. The emphasis of this award is on practitioners buying time. So therefore, the amount that you request should include the amount that you will pay yourself for the time developing your practice. And this can be up to 100% of the award. You should also include the fees and wages for any individuals or groups you intend to collaborate with. And this should correspond to their career stage, the nature of their practice, and the duration of the proposal. It should also be appropriate for the industry standards within your practice. You can find guidance on fair pay rates and practice through the Arts Council's Fair Pay, Fair Practice Policy Toolkit. Info on this is in the guidelines and the website. And there's also great resources available on the First Music Contact and Contemporary Music Centre's website on this as well. Musicians Union, which is the UK trade union for musicians, provides comprehensive information on rates of pay, which is helpful to reference for industry standard rates. I provided all of these resources as links, which is not very helpful in presentation format, but if you just Google search or search the key phrases of these links, you should find the information comes up for you fairly easily. You can also apply for costs associated with disability access. These supports should help you remove barriers for artists or participants with disabilities who are delivering your proposal. This can be you, the main collaborators involved in your proposal, production staff, administrative personnel. Examples of support could include an ISL interpreter, an access support worker, or additional rehearsal or studio time. You can apply for these personal disability access costs in addition to the maximum amount available for the award. So if the expenses for my application was 20,000 and I was applying for a personal disability access support cost of 1,500, then the overall request for my bursary application would be 21,500, and that is absolutely fine. You should upload a supporting document with your application outlining these costs, and there's a template available for this on the Music Bursary funding page. More information on personal disability access costs can be found in our guidelines and our website, or by contacting Disability Access at artscouncil.ie. So I'm just on how to apply to the Arts Council. So if you are applying to the Arts Council for the first time, you'll need to register for an online services account. You'll be given a unique artist registration number to log into your account. This process can take up to 5 days. So if you have not already done this, do it now, or don't do it quite just now, but do it as soon as possible. If you already have an ARN number or if you've already registered, you just simply need to log into the account with those details. Once you have an OLS account, you'll be able to download an application form for the award you wish to apply for, complete that application form, prepare your supporting documentation, and when you're ready, you can then submit your application through OLS. Comprehensive guidance on this process can be found on the Arts Council website or on the Guidance for Applicants webpage. So you have downloaded the application form, and these are the sections you can expect to see. Some of them are fairly self-explanatory, providing your full name, etc. Section 1.3 is a series of checkboxes to indicate that you've completed the necessary stages and that you're eligible. Section 1.4 and 1.5 are also checkboxes. If your proposal involves providing services to these two groups, you're just confirming that you're adhering to the relevant policies. Section 1.6, here you can indicate one additional arts form or arts practice area relevant to your application, if any. So if you do select an additional art form relevant to your application, it's an indication that we will need to consider if a secondary application from another art form would be beneficial in assessing your application. So if you select theatre, your application might receive a second assessment from a theatre advisor if we think it's necessary. So it is important to make sure that this art form is absolutely relevant to your proposal. Section 1.7, do not worry about this section. It's not applicable to music bursary applications, so just completely ignore it. It's fine. Section 1.8, you'll just be briefly describing who you are and what you're about as an artist. And in section 1.9, you will be given an option here to identify as either early career, mid-career, or established. Now to section 2, your proposal here, you'll really be getting into your actual proposal. So section 2.1, you're just giving 3 short bullet points on what you want to do and why. Section 2.2 is where you'll really get into the details of your proposal and give us the full scope of what you want to do and why. This is also where you might explain how your proposal benefits the Republic of Arts if you're not a resident, or if you're in full-time employment, how you're taking time away to develop your practice. Section 2.3 is where you will be describing how your application meets the assessment criteria for bursary. So I'll touch on the assessment criteria later in this presentation. But just to note that these assessment criteria really are the keystones of our assessment approach to your application. So it's important that you are familiar with them. Section 2.4, here you're just listing the key activities of your proposal in a table format, and here you can describe just the what, the where, and the time involved in those key activities. Section 2.5, also in table format, and you're just giving us the artists, individuals, groups, or organizations involved in your proposal. In section 2.6, you'll just be indicating if you are applying for disability access costs. Now to section 3, and here it's about the expenditure, income, and amount that you're requesting for your bursary. So section 3.1, here you're just indicating the expenditure that you expect to incur relating to your application. Section 3.2 is where you will indicate if there's any income, if any, you expect to receive relating to your application. And then in section 3.3, you'll be telling us how much funding you are requesting from the Arts Council. Just a note on in-kind support. As you would be detailing this in section 3 as well. So an in-kind support refers to anything that your project receives that is not a financial expense or income per se. So for example, this could be somebody providing space, equipment, or expertise to your project without charging a fee. So you must put a financial value on in-kind support if you are receiving it. This can be an estimation and it's for the purpose of your budget. And the point of this is to make the value of your proposal clear. So you should think of in-kind support as both expenditure and income. So whatever amount you declare on the expenditure side, you should also declare on the income side. So an example of this could be if I was getting a loan of a microphone as in-kind support and I estimated the value of this rental as around €200, then I would put this on my expenditure table as a note that I'm renting this microphone and this is the value. And then I would also put it in my income table to note that I'm receiving the value of this microphone as in-kind support. Now to section 4, the supporting material check. This is possibly the simplest part of the application, but potentially the sneakiest. So here you just need to indicate via checkboxes that you provided all the supporting documents with your application. However, do not refer to this section alone for the mandatory documents required for your application. The comprehensive list of mandatory documents can be found in the guidelines only, and this applies across several awards. So as a general rule, just always refer to the guidelines alone for that list of mandatory supporting material. And that does take us to the supporting material and the mandatory supporting material that you will need to upload with your application. Good to note here that an application that does not include all mandatory supporting material is ineligible and it will not be assessed. So the mandatory supporting material for all applicants will be a detailed, up-to-date CV, examples of work, which would be 1 to 3 maximum good quality sound recordings or audiovisual files. For composers who routinely produce scores as part of their practice, you should also submit a maximum of 3 scores or substantial score extracts. There's some other supporting material you may need to submit also if your proposal relies on the expertise of other people or organizations. You should also submit brief biographies outlining their expertise and track record. You may submit additional supporting material if you feel it would provide more evidence, clarity, or further information regarding your proposal. Examples of this can be a memorandum of agreement or a letter of support from individuals, groups, or organizations involved in your proposal, or a detailed budget. So important things to note here. First of all, that missing supporting material is the most common reason for ineligible applications. So it is important that you do read the guidelines carefully and that you make sure you have included all that supporting material that we have asked for in your application. Check the guidelines for instruction on file formats and URL links that we do and do not accept. This is especially relevant for sharing work samples. So just to note here as well, we don't accept file sharing sites such as Google Drive or OneDrive. We don't accept social media platforms or streaming platforms that limit access to paid subscribers. And we also do not accept links from your personal website. In general, try to ensure that those work samples that you're sharing are easily accessible. So consider when you're sharing links whether they're accessible without needing to have an account with the platform, or if there's any other extra hoops you need to jump through to get access to those work samples. And this is just in consideration of an advisor or a panel member who may be going through a very large number of applications and work samples as a result. So just to give a quick summary of what will happen next after you apply. So your application is acknowledged, it's checked for eligibility. If it's eligible, it's passed on for assessment. Decisions are made on shortlisted applications by assessors and or staff. Shortlisted applications then go forward to peer panel for discussion, and then decisions are announced within 12 to 15 weeks of the application deadline, and just with the wee stipulation there that this can be subject to change depending on aspects like application volumes and things like that. You can request to see how your application was assessed by contacting our team, but this would only be after those decisions are announced. So to the assessment criteria, and just to note straight away, all the detail on these can be found in our guidelines. Um, but to reiterate, the assessment criteria here are the keystones in our assessment approach. So it is important that you familiarize yourself with these so that you can highlight these aspects in your proposal. So there's three assessment criteria: artistic quality, meeting the objectives and priorities of the award, and feasibility. So with artistic quality, we'll be looking at your track record and the potential that you've demonstrated through your application form and other supporting material, and the activity that you've outlined in the application form, and the ambition, originality, and competency that you've demonstrated. If you intend to work with a mentor, um, apologies, sorry, I've lost myself a little bit in my notes. Just give me a minute. It's awful when you can't find your mouse. Okay, here we are. So just back to artistic quality, if you intend to work with a mentor, the track quality of the mentor and the quality of the program. If you intend to work with partner organizations, the quality and appropriateness of supports offered by those partner organizations. The next assessment criteria, meeting the objectives and priorities of the award. So here we're looking at how much your arts practice might benefit from the proposed activity and how it might develop as a result. We're also looking at how much your proposed activity addresses the priorities of the award. With feasibility, here we're looking at the feasibility of your proposed timetable and schedule, the feasibility that the amount of funding you've requested is suitable for the nature and duration of the work that you propose, and the availability of other supports or partners that you've identified in your application. So I'll just take you to a few tips as you are putting your application together. So not to overstate myself, but do read the guidelines carefully. Don't assume that you know them. The guidelines are subject to change with the release of every new award, and they often do change. This year we had changes under the objectives and priorities of the award. But just to say as well that any changes that have been made will be clearly announced in the guidelines. Give yourself plenty of time and aim to submit before the deadline. So, ideally 48 hours. This will allow for Murphy's Law or any IT issues. If anything like this comes up, it gives us enough time to work through all of this with you. The Bursary Award is an award in very high demand, and it's offered across several art forms. So you can imagine that on the closing date, the website will be seeing a lot of traffic, and you just don't want to be in a position where you're crying over a painfully slow upload up to an hour before the deadline. So also make sure you're eligible and applying for the right award. It could be that your proposal is actually better suited to a different award that we offer. And contact the music and opera team here if you are unsure. Plan your budget, include your artist fees, make sure it's all realistic. And be strategic in your application in relation to the assessment criteria. So make sure that you are hitting those points as much as you can. Also, the bursary is for the significant development of artistic practice. So while you're describing the activity that you're proposing, make sure you also highlight what the product of that will be and where it will actually take you as an artist. Remember that this award is competitive, and assume that we don't know you when we are reading your application. And finally, with the tips, ask your peers to read over and check your application. If you have any peers or colleagues or friends who already have some experience applying to the Arts Council, link in with them, and you may find that you get some really great insight there. I'll just take you to some useful resources and contacts here. So on the Arts Council website, you'll find guidance for applicants. You'll find information on disability access supports, FAQs, and you'll also find the 2026 funding schedule, which will tell you the schedule for all the awards that we are offering this year. Sign up to our newsletter, check the social media regularly. Online information clinics are uploaded to our YouTube channel, which is linked below. If you have any technical queries, contact onlineservices@artscouncil.ie. And if you do have any queries with disability access support, you can also contact our access officer, Vanessa, at vanessa.carswell@artscouncil.ie. Now, contacting the team. So please do email us if you have any queries on the eligibility, ineligibility, or technical aspects of your application. If in doubt, give us a shout. Our team are very much open to questions. We love the questions. There's no silly questions. And we would be so much happier to help you out at the beginning of the process rather than commiserating with you after the fact. So if you would like to contact us, our email address is musicandopera@artscouncil.ie. When you email this address, your first port of call will be our music and opera assistants, Isis Cortez and Sarah Carroll. I'm Maeve Kelly, and with my colleague Tara Bulger, we are the music and opera support managers. My colleague Anya, who is currently managing our chat box, is the music and opera officer. And James Bingham is our head of team or head of music and opera. So I think that will take us to the questions portion of this clinic. But I just want to start off with a few FAQs, and I'll answer these in case they're helpful to you. So the first one here, which is a question we would often get to the team, is what should I include in my CV and work samples? So here, consider when you're putting your CV together and choosing your work samples that you're putting your best foot forward as an artist. So your CV in particular should have an artistic focus, and you should include information relevant to your proposal. So, for example, if you're a violinist who's wishing to develop skills in Baroque music, then you could include your experience as a violinist and your work in Baroque music. Similarly, with work samples, put your best foot forward, choose those work samples that are of good quality and that are relevant to your proposal. What is a memorandum of agreement or letter of support? So an MOU or letter of support is a document that could be provided by any individual, group, or organization involved in your proposal. These documents give the parties an opportunity to express their enthusiasm about you as an artist, their support for your proposed engagement, and possibly a description of the activity that they will be engaging with you. Can I travel outside of Ireland for mentors or collaborators? So you can travel outside of Ireland for mentorship or collaboration as long as you yourself are a resident of the Republic of Ireland. So all expenses associated with this should be detailed in your budget. Can I record music as part of bursary activity? So you can record music as part of bursary activity as long as the objective is developmental. So an example of this could be recording music as part of the development of a new idea for a separate release of work to the public. However, an objective just to record an album for public release would not be considered as significantly developmental bursary activity. So can I collaborate with a band or ensemble to write music? So you can indeed work with collaborators as part of your bursary activity. These collaborators would need to be named in your application along with the nature of the collaboration and how it would support your development, as well as an explanation of the collaborators' remuneration or in-kind support. However, if activities such as composing music with your band or ensemble is already an aspect of your professional practice as an artist, this would not be considered a bursary activity. The emphasis of the award is buying time away from professional work to significantly develop your practice. And now I should note here that if you are a composer, that development work in the field of composition is of course allowable, but as I say, the activity would need to be towards a significant development and not part of a regular professional practice.